Go ahead and bring her over here. And I'm gonna have you shorten your leash a little bit. All right, so, and going to pull out your remote. So we have 3 different numbers. We have perception, connection, and working level. And we wanna find her working level, okay? Now the working level is gonna change depending on what's going on in the environment. So like in here, we got some distraction, but not the same as outside. So in here, the number might be lower, and then outside might be higher. So don't get married to a number that's gonna change, okay? What are we currently set at on the?
So it's currently at 0.
Let's go about 15. And if you land, like if I say 25, 24, 26, just general range. But if I say 25, you're on 35, that's a pretty big jump, okay? So we're gonna take a look at her here. And when I say tap, you're gonna press the bumpy button on the side right there. Exactly, okay? So we're gonna take a look at her and tap, 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 okay? If you hit the pager function on the front, that's vibrate. Did it vibrate? There you go. Alrighty. So then we're going to shorten the leash again. There we go. And bumpy button and tap. 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 So this can be what we would call perception. I saw like a little head movement and we're wanting more. Okay? So let's go to 20. And tap. 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 So you can see the twitch right there, right? But she's not really caring about it. 25. Tap, tap, tap. Okay, a little bit better. Let's try 30. And tap right there. So on 20, kind of subtle. On 25, she started to move a bit more, but then on 30, right away she went. Like you got a really big response, right? So that's what I would call her working number currently, okay? So, and it may change as we start doing the exercise, and again, according to the environment, okay? So before you start every walk, you'd always let her go potty first, get that out the way. Once she's done pottying, you would then find your working level, and then once you find your working level, then you'll start your training, okay? The reason why we don't want to do working level first is in the beginning, if it's, the dog is too kind of cautious of the collar, it can like make them not want to potty, okay? And I know she had like previous training before with it, or was it just the prong?
No, so we started off the prong, and it worked for a bit, but then she just kept pulling and pulling, and then the e-collar, I think just, like you said, just freaked her out.
Sure.
Like it was to the point like where you would pick it up and she would go hide.
Oh, gotcha.
She knew exactly
what it was.
Yeah.
Sure.
Like the prong collar, she sees it, she gets super excited and stuff. And she even wears it like in the house and like in the backyard and stuff. So it's not like she knows like I'm going for a walk the minute she sees it, but she just gets excited. Like,
Sure.
normally, like when she sees it.
Yep.
But we had to stop using that because we figured out she has a metal allergy.
Oh.
So the reason why her skin gets really fucked is because she's allergic to metal.
Sure.
So like even her collar, like right now, because we're out, she has to wear it because it's her identification. But the prong collar and even like the metal from her tag like irritates her skin.
Gotcha. They make prong collars with a different type of.
The plastic.
Not the plastic one. I mean, it's a metal, but it's a different type of metal that dogs are typically not allergic to. If you.
Because the one we have is stainless steel.
Sure.
So that's why. Because usually stainless steel, it's not an allergy. That's why.
It depends, because some of them say stainless steel, but they're chrome plated. Because there's like knockoffs, so to speak, but there's like 4 or 5 different types of metal materials they make the prong collars from with Herm Sprenger, specifically for that purpose. Okay, so if you want more information on those, you just shoot me an email, and I'll send you to a website that sells them.
So I ordered hers right from the Herm Sprenger.
Okay, so then it's most likely, yeah, because they have like, there's like a pinkish one that's Kurogen, that's good for dogs. I have a dog right now that's on it because of metal allergies and stuff like that. So with your e-collar, if you notice any irritation, they do make titanium probes that are meant for, again, dogs with allergies.
I looked into those just in case this one.
This one, yeah, yeah. So, so I would say 30 is the working number. Now, in the beginning, what I would suggest, if we know she already has an aversion to the collar, is whenever you pull it out, cheese, hot dog, bologna, turkey, whatever, anything that's super high value, and I don't use dog treats, I use people food. If you don't want to give her human food, that's fine, but at least for this.
She gets like certain stuff for like when we were muscle training, it was like cheese and everything. So
Perfect.
she gets like certain like
Things
stuff,
for-
but she again we try to look what meats she can and can't have.
Sure.
Because she does have a chicken allergy.
Sure.
And so just some stuff, or maybe the preservatives, like some of the meats. She's just so sensitive.
Yeah, and pitties are known for having sensitivities. So whatever your high value is, and I would isolate it specifically for the collar. When you pull it out, you give her a treat. You put it on, give her a treat. Do your training, come back, grab it, give her a treat. Take it off, give her a treat. And you can even like pick it up during the day, give her a treat, and then just put it back.
Yeah.
Just so she gets used to like, oh, like this is good stuff. And then you can also just have her wear it loosely, not turned on, to get her more comfortable with wearing it, because more exposure is going to help her kind of get over that aversion. Okay, so I'm going to demonstrate this exercise and I'm going to coach you through it. We're going to cover the heel. Okay, now do you walk her left or right?
She's on my right side.
You're on your right side.
It's my strongest arm.
Okay.
And so I know my dad, when he walks her, she's on his left.
Okay.
Because he's left-handed.
Sure.
But I'm usually the one who walks her primarily.
Okay.
So
Yeah, so we're going to want to keep it consistent. So if you want to teach her on the right, that's fine. You're going to have to remind me because most of my clients are on the left. Okay, so if I no, it's fine. So if I start talking about the left, just tell me she's trained on the right. Okay. So here, for getting her to walk at our right side, what we're going to do is when you're walking, whenever she passes you, you're going to make a 180 pivot like this. Okay.
that's what we do.
With the okay. So then when she passes, I'm going to say the word turn, and when I say turn, you're going to 180 pivot. Okay. She passes, I say turn, you're going to 180 pivot. The next thing that we're going to do is I'm going to say the word tap. Okay. So it'll be turn and then tap, 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 and then when she's back to your side, we're going to keep walking. She passes you, turn, tap, 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 tap. She comes back to your side, keep walking, and we're going to keep repeating that. Okay. When I say tap, that's one press of the button, so it'd be tap. So if I say tap, 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 that's rhythm. If I say tap, 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 that would then be a rhythm. Okay. Last thing I might say is pull to your right. So as you're walking, she may go to your left side. You're going to keep moving forward. And as you're moving forward, you're going to lightly pull to your left as you tap on the collar to bring her from your left side over to your right side. Okay, and then we're going to relax and keep walking. Okay, so it's 3 primary instructions. Turn, which is 180 to your left. Tap means press that button 1 time. And then pull to the left, pull to the right means tap and pull to your right. And I'm going to coach you through all this stuff, okay? In regards to how much leash we're going to give her, we're actually going to give her a little bit more slack. A little bit more. That should be okay right there, okay? So I'm going to coach you through this. So go ahead and just start walking forward. Good. Turn, tap, pull to your right, tap. Good, and relax, good. Good. Turn. You're gonna make all left turns today.
Oh.
Okay, all left turns, yeah. And then short, give slack. More slack. There you go, good. Good, turn, tap, pull to your right, tap, good. Tap forward, good. Keep forward and turn, good. Give slack, yeah, like that, good. Keep forward and tap. Good girl, keep forward, good. Turn, good, pull to your right, tap, good, relax, good. And then give slack. Good, turn. Good, tap, tap, good. Keep forward, good. Good. Turn, tap, 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 good. Go on slow walk, but keep forward. Good, go ahead and pick up speed a little bit. Good, tap, turn, tap, tap. Good, keep forward. Good, tap forward, good, turn. Keep your arm relaxed, good. Now slow walk, but keep forward. Good, and pick up speed. Good, turn. Tap, 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 tap. Good. There she goes, good girl. Yeah, keep forward. Good. Good, tap. Good, now slow walk. And what you're gonna do on this next one when you come up, I'm gonna have you walk kind of close to where the pen is, okay? Tap forward, tap, 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 tap. Good. And do a wide turn here. Good. You know, walk along the wall right there. Tap forward, tap, good. Good, tap forward, then turn, tap, tap. Good, and I'm gonna have you, you're gonna turn here and you're gonna walk up again, okay? Good, keep forward, tap, good. Tap forward, tap, good. Tap forward, good. Let's go to 35. And we're gonna try that again. Good. Tap forward, good. Tap, tap, good. Good, and then slow walk. Slower, and stop. Good. All right. So here, I can see the training that was done, right? Because typically it's more.
She walks next to me. She doesn't exactly know, like, I say heel, she has to be by me. Because we do a lot of, like, you know, the 180, 360s. Like, I walk into her, we do circles and stuff. And usually before, like, our walks and everything, like, for 5 minutes, I do, like,
Just like a warm up?
Stuff, just, like, so that she's next to me. But I'm the only one who does that because everyone else in my house thinks it's stupid. But that's how she knows to walk next to us.
Okay.
It took me a couple months, but she got it.
Sure.
So, but she typically like tries to pull ahead. We do turns.
Right.
And then start over.
So we're gonna change things a bit. So lightly pull up on your leash here and give a tap. And relax. Good. We're gonna remove all the commands in terms of verbal cues. Aside from, I use break as a release. Do you have a release word?
It's break.
It's break? Okay.
Oh, yes.
Lightly up, tap. Good. So like here, instead of saying sit, we're just lightly pulling up and tapping, and then relax. Good. So once you correct her, you want to give her the opportunity to make the mistake of laying down. And we're doing this so that we can layer this in more. So if she already has an aversion to the collar, tap, and then relax from before, she needs to be exposed to it more in order to get comfortable with it, right? So here, tap. Every time she tries to lay down, you're just correcting her and you're saying, you can't do that right now, okay? So here we're correcting her into a sitting position because with the heel, traditionally it's walk with me, stay with me, sit when I stop. And I can see just from the other training, like she just has this inclination, right? So we're gonna start.
Just the pancake. If we stand, she just lays down.
Just sploots, yeah.
Just flops.
Sure. So we're gonna start countering that because if we have reactivity, we're using every little opportunity to be as strict as possible, okay? So here, as long as she's sitting down next to you, we're good. I don't need perfect positioning. I just need her in a sitting position, okay? So what I would do now, instead of starting your doing the 5-minute thing or turns and all that stuff, is just start your walk, okay? So if you start your walk and you know at the beginning she's gonna pull a lot, unless you do the 5-minute exercise, then it's not gonna allow you to use this, right? So what I do is, again, go outside, let her potty, get that out the way first, find your working number, and then just start the walk, okay? Because all those times, we in order to teach, what's her name again? Penny. In order to teach Penny to walk at your side, she has to be corrected using the tool. So you're already familiar with the turnaround, okay? So that's good, that's easy. So now it's, when we go for our walk, every time Penny gets ahead of you, you would just do that 180 pivot, but now we're pairing it with this, okay? So every time you would turn, if I didn't see her turning with you, or I saw her like kind of looking off and being distracted, we would start with the tapping until we saw her come to your side. So what we're wanting her to learn is that when she feels this, it means to find the right hip, okay? Because that's gonna become the reference point for the reactivity. So ideally, with this here, we should see a chunk of reactivity kind of go away. That's the goal, okay? If that doesn't happen, we have a couple of options. One, I keep raising that number until I find a number that makes her so concerned about my hip that she doesn't care about the dog, okay? Or, let's say that's not working either, she's still wanting to be reactive, then we would use the collar to correct her for the reactivity, to teach her like that is not allowed, but she has to have a reference point. So the reference point is gonna be the right hip. Because when she gets the collar, she's thinking to herself like, well, what do I do instead, right? So what you're saying is, hey, don't lunge and bark, stick to my side, okay? So this is where the turnaround is so important, okay? So here, and if she's sitting and she does that, that's technically okay, unless you feel like she's getting too engaged with the distraction, then you of course can correct it, okay? So here, earlier she splooted like 5 times and you corrected her each time, and now she's been holding that sitting position for a good couple of minutes, okay? So now what she's learning is, okay, when we come to a stop, my job is to put that butt down and keep it down until mom tells me otherwise. Otherwise, if I try to lay down, it's an automatic correction, okay? Now the reason why this is important is because heel is a very specific looking command. Walk with me, stay with me, sit when I stop, okay? And then relax, tap, tap, there you go. And here, when she lays down, you're gonna kick into the tap first, and then keep tapping and then pull, okay? Because then the pull, so what we're trying to do here is get Penny to sit and not have to do anything. But if you do the pull, you'll always do the pull because it's not really an aversive, right? The e-collar is an aversive. She's like, hey, I don't like that, so I wanna minimize my exposure to the sensation, right? So, but if you pull her up, she'll go into a sitting position for sure, but it's not an aversive, so she's gonna keep doing it, okay? So now, the reason why we don't wanna allow the laying down now is I know that she's just getting comfortable. Like I know like she's lazy or whatever, right? But for the dog, once we start to teach the strictness of commands, if I come to a stop and she should automatically sit, but instead she lays down and I go, sure, that's fine, is that if she can do the little things, then she can do the bigger things, okay? So she's like, well, mom lets me lay down. Then she's like, well, then can I lunge and bark? Does that make sense? So dogs aren't logical. She's not thinking like, oh, you're letting me lay down because you know this is what I do. She just goes, oh, you know, I came to a stop, I put my butt down, which is what I normally do, and then I laid down and I got away with it. What else can I get away with, okay? So we're gonna start tightening things up as we go along, so we're gonna have to break old habits. So like, because we're so sound-based, people inevitably like will use sound at some point. But right now we're trying to condition as much as possible with the remote all these behaviors, okay? Questions so far? So we're gonna give some more slack here, and we're gonna go into do a few more movements, and then when you were walking along the pen, I don't know if you noticed, but she was like sniffing the ground or like trying to sniff, not so much sniff, but like kind of poke over there. So anytime you see that stuff, you're also gonna give a tap to say like, right, tap, tap, good, right there, relax. I'm telling her you're not allowed to do that right now, okay? Just being as strict as possible to get her used to that, okay? And what was your number? Oh wait, but use the sit collar, right?
Yeah, so it was like 1 through 7, but like 1 through 7 had like 3 different levels, and
Sure.
But
Do you remember what setting it was? Like medium 7 or medium?
she did like a 3 or a 4, but it used to make her head just go like completely, even though that was like the lowest
Setting? Sure.
really for her. But it was very odd, like trying to maneuver the collar, trying to understand like where her point was.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. This one's pretty straightforward because this is 1 through 127.
Yeah.
Okay, so go ahead and give her some slack there. And go ahead and start moving. Good. Good, tap forward. There we go, good girl. Tap, there you go, good. Good, and turn. Good, tap forward, good. And here you're gonna go and do a wide turn. And then when you start to walk past the pen here, I'm gonna have you go real slow. Good, keep forward, good. Yeah, real slow. Tap, good, tap, good. Good. Let's go to, you're at 35, correct?
Yeah.
Let's go 38. And you're gonna loop around again and try to walk past the pen. Yep, there you go, good. Tap forward, good. Tap forward, good. Then turn. Good, I'm gonna try one more turn here. Good. Dip, tap, tap. Good. Go and speed up. Good. And slow turn. Tap. There we go. Tap, tap, tap. All right, go ahead and turn again. Let's go to 45. Good. Turn. Tap, yep, there we go. Tap, 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 tap. There we go. Keep forward. Good. We're gonna try that again. Tap, better. There we go. Tap. Good, tap, tap. Good, we're at 45, right? Let's try 53. Good. Good. There we go. Tap, pull your right, tap. There she goes. Good. Better. We're gonna try one more pass by. Tap, tap, tap. Yeah, keep forward. There we go. Good, better. There we go, better. Tap. Good, tap. Good. And then hug over this way a little bit. Yeah, hug over this way. And you're gonna slow walk and stop right there. Okay, so what I'm trying to find here is when you would pass by, she would start kind of going like this and smelling. And I really don't care about the smelling, okay? Because as long as she stays on your hip, technically that's fine. But what I'm trying to do is find what her sensitivity is, okay? So
Inside is usually never a problem. It's the outside.
Mhm.
She just really goes like.
correct, correct. So here, you know, we're inside, we got some dogs here or whatever, and you're at 53, right? But she's still willing to risk it. So now what we're doing is we're trying to get information on, okay, so if I'm inside and, hey, cut it out. I'm trying to get information on what her love numbers or correctional numbers might be. If it's 53 for her to just smell a dog, imagine what it would be for reactivity. Does that make sense? Also getting used to how this works. So I have my 3 tap or 3 correction rule. If I don't get a change in behavior within 3 taps, I bump it. Or if I don't get a change in behavior within 3 corrections, I bump it, okay? So when you're out walking her, when you have nice open space, you wanna give Penny slack, okay? Because if you shorten it, if you turn, you're gonna hit tension. So she's turning with you because she's limited in what she can do. But if I leave it completely slack, she can keep going before tension would actually kick in, okay? So that's where giving that slack is important. So if you're walking with Penny and you have a completely slack leash and she's at your hip, that means she's learning the concept. She's getting understanding like, oh, I should walk at your side. But if I'm restricting her, she's only there because I'm limiting what she can do, okay? So here, if we see a dog approaching, what do you do now typically?
So typically, if we see a dog coming, we turn the other way.
Sure.
Or if it's unavoidable, we'll probably, there's usually like a car or something, so we'll sit off the corner or sit behind the car, and then we'll wait for her to go, and then we go. But usually she starts going the minute she smells them and like stuff. So if a dog, like, let's say walked past our house like 5 minutes beforehand, she smells them, she gets scared, then she starts to
Okay.
like,
So imagine what we're doing here is like she's caught the scent of a dog, okay? So the easiest way to stop behavior, so this was in motion, but technically the easiest way to stop behavior is stationary, okay? So like let's say she smells a dog. She smells a dog and you can see her kind of getting into that state. It would be easier to just stop, and as she's sniffing there, you tap the button and you just keep going up until eventually she just goes like this. Yep. And you see her stop smelling the air and she looks more passive. Then you would start your movement, okay? So what you're telling her is disengage from that scent you have right now. Don't care about the scent. And then you keep going. If you want to start targeting reactivity, what I'm gonna have you do this week is we're not gonna cross the street anymore or go the other way or go behind the car. She has to get used to seeing dogs, okay? And use discretion. So like if that person's dog looks uncontrolled or something, do what you would normally do. Otherwise, if the dog is like a calm dog or whatever, is typically it's sidewalk, grass, curb, right? Is as soon as you see the dog, whether it's a block away or half a block away, you're gonna step aside to the curb, okay? She should automatically sit, otherwise lightly pull up, tap to put her in a sitting position, and then you're gonna shorten your leash, okay? So go ahead and shorten here.
this is usually like what I want her like on. This is how much she gets.
The slack.
She stays, like, yeah.
So, because remember, when you have open space, you're gonna give her slack now, okay? So then when you step aside, you're gonna have to take up that slack, which it can take some getting used to because we're so used to doing stuff like this, is that when you shorten the leash, you'll most likely create pulling again, okay? Because when dogs feel tension, their instinct is to go against it. So here,
She like flails, kind of like when she sees another dog, that's when she, and then she, it's like a fish almost, like when we go fishing, she just flaps like around and stuff in order to like try to break free and go for another.
sure. So here, and we would change the positioning of your slip leash here. I would put your slip leash over your e-collar. So it would be e-collar and then slip leash above the e-collar.
That's normally where usually.
Yeah, so you can move it up like that, just like that. That's gonna give you the most leverage, okay? So when you shorten the leash, you're limiting her range of motion. Now, when she starts to flail, what do?
We just stand there, and then I hold it, and then I will put, like, because she'll jump on us in order to, like, I don't want to say, like, she's trying to, like, knock us over or something, but she'll, like, jump on us, and then, like, she'll go, like, she'll kind of, like, drag her nails, like, on your leg, and then she'll, like, push off on you.
Gotcha.
So it's like she's trying to springboard off of us.
Sure. So what I'm going to have you do is your slip leash, what I'm going to have you do is you're going to remove it and then flip it. Because right now you have it backwards. And you just, yeah, exactly, just like that. Okay. So when you do your slip, the top part of it, you see how it's above? It should be above and coming up to you as opposed to under, okay? So that's gonna help a little bit with the leverage part. So in order for her to get over dogs, we have two things going on at once. One, we're layering in e-collar, and we're gradually going up to see what does discipline fix, okay? And appropriate discipline that she understands why it's happening. And in order to see how she responds to the reactivity stuff, we're gonna have to put ourselves in those situations, okay? Is the flailing and the bucking and the alligator rolling and the redirecting is all, it's not normal, but it's not uncommon to see with reactivity, is when you see the dog approaching, right, as soon as you see it, you want to just step aside. Your responsibility is Penny. So you're looking at Penny, okay? Now, as you're looking at Penny and the person is approaching with their dog here, don't get tunnel vision, or because people will just focus on their dog and they don't pay attention to what's happening here. What happens is you're stepped aside, you're focused on Penny, and the person's doing this, right? So you also want to keep your peripheral range here. So if you see them walking like towards you, and trust me, like she could be throwing a fit and they'll still walk towards you like, oh, my dog, you know, my dog's friendly.
You know, I think that's the main reason why it's because every dog we run into in our neighborhood is crazy. Especially a lot of little dogs and stuff. And like the main reason why I like really needed to like start is because she's starting to see little kids as small dogs. And so she'll freak out now where like when she sees like parents with their little kids and stuff, and then she'll get like really aggressive looking. But the minute she realizes they're a kid, she's like, because she loves them.
Sure.
She loves people, and she just, not men, but she loves women and kids. Those are her like two favorite things ever. But then like, you know, she freaks out the kids because then she's freaking out because she thinks they're a dog.
Sure.
And then she doesn't like it when they don't give her attention. And I normally I never let strangers touch her anyway, but she likes looking at them and smelling them.
Sure.
Like when we go out and stuff.
Yeah.
So, but the main concern was because of her seeing kids. I didn't want to like accidentally walk past a kid and then she thinks like it's a dog and then like
Be reactive or something.
Like,
yeah. So when it comes to reactivity, human reactivity almost always goes away first. Okay, so the kid thing probably just go away. If it doesn't, let me know. So here, we want to start confronting this. So by shortening the leash, you're limiting how much leverage she has. Also, if she were to lunge, she's not going to get very far. And what you want to get used to is that when she becomes reactive, you want to pull straight up and away. Okay, up and away.
That's like, so this is like, cause she's like messed up my legs before. Like I still have like a scratch from like
Sure.
to like, because that's like another thing we're trying to take care of is because whoever had her beforehand never trimmed her nails. So now her nails are overly long. And so I think it hurts her like when she walks, but they're like down to the quicks and stuff. So we're trying to shorten them, but that's gonna take forever. But like, so she has like really like they look dull, but they're sharp.
Hey, PG over here. So when you pull up, be mindful that you don't give slack. Okay, so like right now when you pulled up, you gave about like 6 inches of slack there. So when you keep it as short as you have, and I would actually go shorter. Look, right there, right? So pull up. See how quick you get that tension? Go ahead and give slack. More like that. Now pull up. See how much higher you have to go. And you want to think that when you're up here, she also has that much length to come this way. So when you go shorter and you go up and away, it prevents her from getting to you, but also prevents her from getting to the dog, okay? So when we're stepped aside, we were at 53 just for passing by dogs right here, okay, in the controlled environment. Is in the beginning, you're probably gonna get some escalations that you're not gonna be able to address. So like, let's say you walk out, you see a dog, you pull up, you start tapping, and you're at 35, and she keeps blowing up, and it doesn't stop. So then the next time, I don't wanna use 35, I'm gonna use 40. Or you can even go to 45. Okay, you can go in jumps of 10, because you're trying to get to the answer faster. So if I were to see like 5 to 6 dogs in a walk, I'm gonna find that number pretty quick because of my escalation, okay? So here, next time I see a dog, I'm at 45. You can tap for any escalation in behavior. So if she's sitting there and she sees a dog and she even does this, you can actually correct her right there.
Yeah, that's what we typically like. So she like if we're on a walk and she starts trending, that's usually like if we had the prong collar. That's when I would like give it a quick yank and stuff, and then she would still follow through. So like I'm really good at like catching because she starts like the ears forward and then she'll like and it's like I felt her hunting stance where she just gets puffed up and then she like so she like will fluff up down her spine typically and then that's usually her go-to tell us that we can start to see the fur.
Yeah, her hackles go up?
Yeah.
So all that you can tap. So instead of yanking on the prong or whatever, you're just replacing it with the press of a button, okay? So if like her hackles go up, and let's say you're at 55 and you tap her and she's still staring, what does that tell us?
Go up.
Yeah, right? So we're not going 40 to 90, you're going 40 to 45 to 50 or 40, 50, 60, 70 to get to the answer faster. But the reason for the gradual increased tap is because if you go 40 to 90, it's such a big jump and it's too harsh that she's not gonna really think of why it happened, okay? She's gonna it's gonna stop the behavior, but she's gonna be so panicked about the harsh hit that she's not gonna process why. So when you do a gradual, she's getting the concept of like, oh, like this is happening because I'm not supposed to be lunging and barking, okay? And I should stop that. So I see a dog, I'm at 35, shorten my leash, I'm watching her, I tap at 35 a couple times. If she's still staring, if you have time, you start to bump it, tap again, she's still staring, bump it, right? So I move up very quickly, okay? So if you bump it and you're at 55 and the dog passes and she's lunging and barking, don't worry about the remote anymore, just pull up and pull away from you, okay? Let it pass. Once they're gone, relax, tap to calm her down, back to the walk. I go, all right, 55 didn't work, right? Next time I see a dog, if I lowered the number, I go straight back to 55. No, not 55, I go back to 60 or I go higher, right? I'm tapping her, she's still staring, 65, 70, right? And then let's say I get to 80, she's lunging and barking, 80 didn't work, the dog goes by, okay. Next time I'll be at 85, okay? So you're building off the failures. So then, once you've done this so many times, let's say you hit 95, you're like, oh, 95 is what gets her to finally stop. Every time you see a dog, you're just jumping to 95 now, okay? But in order to figure that out, you have to put yourself in those situations. If the dog is being reactive back, it's gonna be harder to correct her, okay, and de-escalate her because that dog is putting out threat, so she's gonna be more incentivized to put threat out back. Sure.
And there's like white eyes, like half of them, it takes us probably like 20 minutes. Or usually like if she goes into that, then she's done. And then we go home and then she's not done for the day, but per se, but like we give it like an hour or two and then we'll go back in another 10 minutes.
Sure. So with this, let's say that happens, is this can cut through the intensity. So let's say it's a failed moment, right? You couldn't shut her down, but you're at 85 and you tap her after the fact. 85 might just cut through and she'll go like this, and all of a sudden you just see her chill, okay? Because now that the threat is gone, it's allowing her to actually de-escalate, okay? And then you would go down to your normal obedience number. So if it was 45, you go down to 45 and then continue your walk, okay? So we don't wait 20 minutes for the dog to calm down. We make them calm down, okay? So it's like with humans, if we get into confrontation, right? And like people are trying to disengage it, right? It's immediately disengaged and now, but as humans, we can also like walk away and just like decompress. Whereas for dogs, like you said, sometimes she will, sometimes she'll keep it for like 20 minutes, right? Here we're being very proactive and we're saying, nope, that's done. You're gonna settle down now, okay? So e-collar can do two things. It can teach Penny to do something and it can teach her not to do something, okay? So if she is beginning to intensify, I can tell her, don't intensify. Don't think about being reactive, right? So it's simply an aversive to stop the behavior. For the obedience stuff, we have to shape it. We have to teach her, right? We have to teach her that this means to like put your butt down, or it means to come to us. That's a skill, okay? But when it comes to behavior, it's simply consequence for what you don't want. So if you're on the walk and she's starting to sniff out the air and get amped up, you can just tap for that and you're saying, hey, don't get amped up right now, okay? Questions about any of this so far?
So there's like no command?
Not this week.
Like no running or anything?
Correct. We're not going to say heel. The only thing that you can say is break. Okay, so after the walk, if you decide, good job, Penny, break, she's off the clock.
Well, usually, so we'll go up walk, and then I say break, and then she gets to stand in the corner. But usually, like, breaking, yes, is like, because we do also, like, door obedience, because we don't have pets yet. So her coming outside is, like, we have to make sure, so she, like, it's all thresholds and stuff. She gets, like, a yes or a break. Usually we don't, like, say heel. It's, like, let's go, or, like, with me, kind of thing. So maybe that's why we're so confusing, is because we just...
Well, like, you can use the word let's go. It's just we're not doing it for this week. And for your threshold stuff, you can keep doing that. You're just not going to be using any words. So if I go to a door and she's standing, I just lightly pull up and I tap. She should sit. I open the door. If she gets up, I tap and pull up. She sits back down, break or yes or whatever. Your release words you can use. You're just not going to use obedience words, okay? The reason why we're moving any obedience words is because I want you to use that call, that remote, as much as possible, okay? Because we tend to use sound. We tend to use, no, sit, stay, come here with me, let's go, heel, like all these words, right? And she doesn't know what they mean. She associates what they mean, right? She learns, oh, when I hear let's go, it means we're walking. When I hear break, it means I can go through the door. When I hear yes, it means I'm going to get a treat, right? She's associating what happens when she hears these words. So by removing them, you're just making a dialogue between you and her via the remote collar. Tap. Good, right there. So this week, you're only going to do the leash walking. You're only going to use remote for stuff that we've covered, okay? So the leash walking, getting her to sit from a down position, and stopping anything you don't want, okay? Now, there is the possibility if she escalates into reactivity and you try to use e-collar, it might amplify her, okay? So you might read that e-collars make dogs more aggressive. That's not, it's a yes and no answer, okay? What happens is if you're too low, it's more so annoying the dog because it's not enough to override the intensity. So that's why each time we see a dog, we're building off of those failures. And eventually when you hit 95 or whatever, she's gonna just take the hit and then completely stop what she's doing, okay? So in the beginning, if you find that you're trying to use it for reactivity and you feel like you're amplifying her, stop with the remote and just contain her. Just up and contain, up and away. Once that's passed, then correct her to de-escalate her, and then continue your walk, okay? If you see a situation where that dog is reactive as well and you're like, this is gonna be too complicated, you can cross the street, right? But if you see a calm dog or if you see a small dog or something like that and it looks like it's gonna be easy, use that to your advantage, okay? Because for me to help you make progress, I have to know your successes and your failures, right? So you might come back next week and say, like, Jesse, we saw 10 dogs and she was only reactive 3 times. And I go, with what? And you might say the dogs were barking. I go, okay, that makes sense, right? Or you might say it's like a high energy dog or whatever. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense too. So that this way we can start making adjustments onto the collar. So when it comes to the working level, obedience and behavior are gonna be different. Okay, so her obedience level could be 45 and she's perfect. And she walks at your side, there's no tension, there's a completely slack leash and she'll go with you for blocks. And then behavior could be 45 does nothing to stop it, and she needs 95, okay? So then you learn your working levels for different types of contexts and environments, okay? Questions so far about that?
That means we just have to find dogs that or people who won't avoid her. I have a busy neighborhood. People don't really live in
Yeah.
house. So.
You know, what neighborhood you in?
Furman. So we're kind of like by North Riverside, Cicero.
Sure. Well, like let's say when you're in the city, you know, while you're here, you know, like if you walk south here on Western, there's a dog park right there. Okay, so like, oh, there's a controlled context. Or if you go over by like Oz Park, which is straight down Elston, there, like I was just there right now, saw at least 20 dogs. Okay, or even on the lakefront, because now that it's warming up, people are starting to walk their dogs more, where you can have more exposure. Okay, but do what you can with what you have. So if the opportunity to have people pass isn't a lot, then you might have to just take every single one that you get. But definitely when you come around here, if you want, like there's lots of areas where just people walk their dogs. And at some point, we're going to be transitioning to Oz Park, probably within a couple of weeks or so. So then we'll be back to outside and training with distractions. So here, you're at what number now? 53? Yeah. You see how attentive she is? Okay. So don't expect her to always do this. This is not realistic. The reason why this is happening now is because this is the most discipline she's had. Okay. At least in terms of like discipline that she respects. Because I'm sure you were correcting with the prong and stuff, but if you can't match the behavior, it's not going to mean anything, right? Because we can only do so much with the prong collar. With the e-collar,
Well, this is how
tip,
she normally like is
tip.
in the house and stuff with me at least.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm definitely mom in the house.
Mm-hmm.
So she listens to me.
Sure.
Usually only me.
Because you do the most of everybody.
I do all of the obedience.
Yeah, so that makes
Like
sense.
everything. And like she got hand fed like the first 3 months we had her
Mhm.
puppy. Because everyone else is she's a dog, just let her be a dog.
Mm-hmm.
Nah.
Mm-hmm. So when you go outside, you know, this level of attention and focus is ideally what prevents the reactivity from happening. But this isn't like attention from like all the positive that you've done. This is attention because of rules and discipline. Okay. So here, when you walk with her, homework for the week. Dogs are better in smaller chunks, so like 3 20-minute walks is best.
We usually go like she goes on 2 to 3 hour long walks a day. I take her for
Sure, you can still do that. It's just on average, most people don't do that long. So if you do 3 1-hour walks, that's fine. Like have at it. My general rule of thumb is 80% work to 20% play. So 45 minutes of that hour-long walk might be structured heel. 15 minutes broken up however you want can be, that's fine, can be, can be do what you want. Okay, so you can do 5 minutes at the beginning, do what you want. We do some structure in the middle, 5 minutes of a break, do what you want, and then more structure, and then just before we get home, another break, and then we're done. Okay, or you can do the whole walk, come back and give her a 15-minute break at the end, or start 15 minutes in the beginning, do a big structured walk, and just end with going home. Okay, so once you've initiated this concept of walk at my side, it's your job to reinforce it and keep her at that standard. Okay, if you're walking with her and she's walking at your hip and she's being stubborn, you just keep bumping your number. So every time you turn and tap, that is one correction. So after 3 turning taps, bump your number. I usually go in about jumps of 5. Okay, so if it's turn and tap, 30 is not working, I go to 35. Turn and tap, 35 is not working, I go to 40. And I keep repeating that process. So eventually you're gonna hit like 60 or something, and she's gonna come to your hip, and you're gonna walk, and it's like, oh man, I've been walking for like 2 miles, and she's not left my side, okay? Every time you come to a stop, you wanna make sure that you always do slow down first. Slowing down tells Penny something's changing, and allows her to be able to stop with you, okay? If you just abruptly stop, Penny will always kind of forge ahead because it's too abrupt. So it's kind of like with driving. You know, if you just stop too suddenly, the person behind you is gonna crash right into you, right? Because there's no warning. That's why we pump our brakes. Same thing for the turns. Anytime Penny gets ahead of you, always 180 turn to the right and tap until she's back at your side. If you have to go back the other way, just slowly turn again, and now you're going back in the direction you're going before. So, yes, always away from her. Correct. So remember, no turn exercise this week. You're just gonna go outside, let her potty, and start your walk. Because you need Penny to leave your side so that you can correct her with the collar, okay? We're gonna avoid all right turns. Everything's gonna be pivot to the left. If you have to make a turn to, like, for the sake of the walk, to slow down and then do the turn, but we're not doing the turns to an exaggerated degree to get her to focus. The focus is gonna come from that. Does that make sense? So yeah, so we're gonna have to unlearn some habits and stop some routines so that we can let the e-collar do all the work for you, okay? In terms of like her laying down and stuff, here in the higher number, she was much less likely to try to lay down and stuff, so that's what we're looking for as well, is there's bigger and bigger gaps between your corrections, and then that means that the level that you're correcting at that moment is working. So let's say you correct her for being reactive, and you're at 65 and she stops, and then you see 5 more dogs that she would typically be reactive with, and she's not reactive. Not only does 65 stop the reactivity, but it's also resonating, so it's preventing it from happening again. Does that make sense? Questions?
Explained it a lot easier
than the other place?
Yeah.
Oh.
Instead of like actually doing like exercises, I think like the main concern is like when we did lessons, there was never any other dogs in the room, like to identify.
Sure.
I mean, our consultation, he brought out his dog and like had him run around the room and he was checking for what did he call it? Like if she was like abnormal, like psychologically, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
And stuff, because like, you know, I know there's nothing like mentally like wrong with her or like abnormal, like a birth defect. Like she's not like, she goes to the vet regularly, she gets like checked up.
Yeah,
you know,
she's fine.
We did like, she had to have a full vet visit before she even got the appointment. So I was like, I'm pretty sure if something was like mentally wrong with her, but I didn't notice.
Neurological stuff is typically like, in 10 years, I've only worked with 2 dogs that had neurological issues.
Yeah.
Okay, and one of them, he would just twitch, and like his movements weren't correct. Like it was very obvious that there was something there. But dogs, in my opinion, don't have abnormalities or neurological things. Like reactivity is not an abnormality. It's normal dog behavior. It's just not acceptable dog behavior in our world, right? So yeah, I wouldn't worry about that stuff. So essentially just forget what you've learned to a degree, and we're probably gonna cover it again, but it might be explained differently or it might be utilized differently. But this week, just anytime she passes you, 180 turn to the immediate left and tap until she returns to your side, and then just keep going, okay? As long as Penny is walking at your hip, there's no need to turn, okay? So then you just keep walking. So if you walk for 20 minutes and you're like, man, she's just been on my hip, whatever number you're using is the correct working number. Just remember, before you stop, before you turn, you do want to slow down to give her a cue of like, hey, something's changing. As long as she slows down with you, you continue with what your intention was. If she were to keep going, you would simply pivot and tap to bring her back to your leg. If we see her doing something that you don't want her to do, like sniffing the air, or her hackles going up when she hears a dog tag out there or whatever, you would simply, I think it's easiest to step aside, and because this is very simple to read, as opposed to when you're in motion, to correct her until you see her kind of go into this passive state, and then start your walk again. Okay, eventually we're gonna build it to that you would correct her, and you would keep her in motion like you did here, but it's just a lot more obvious when you're stationary to be able to see those things. Okay, awesome. So if you have any questions, just shoot me an email at the one I sent you the videos from. I sent them like at 5 o'clock this morning because I just saw the confirmation yesterday.